Welcome to my virtual diner. Pull up a seat at the counter. Get comfortable. Most shows talk about the people. I talk to them. This is Real America with me, Bridget Phetasy. Welcome back to Real America, where we hear from real people about what's top of mind for them. Tonight, we're going to talk about money. In 1992, American political consultant James Carville famously coined the phrase, "It's the economy, stupid," during Bill Clinton's U.S. presidential campaign when he was reminding campaign workers to focus on the economy as the central issue driving voter concerns. He is not wrong. Economic conditions like jobs, wages, and the cost of living often outweigh other political issues influencing elections, and voters prioritize their financial well-being, making the economy a key determinant in political outcomes. We all know this. Many people voted for Trump hoping that the economy would improve. And although prices have come down a bit, tariffs have driven some of them up, and it's confusing. Voters are split on Trump's big, beautiful bill. Recent polling found respondents divided. 48% said it will improve things, and 52% said it will make the economy worse. Seems like no one really knows what's going to happen. And some of you might remember Marissa. She was on our first episode and got doged. When I checked in with my chat at Phetasy.com today about their feelings about the economy, she said, quote, "I've noticed the growing disconnect between what our leaders tell us is going on with the economy and what everyone is experiencing. This has been going on at least since the pandemic. Right now, I'm dangling on the edge of bankruptcy since losing my job, and I know a guy who's been out of work for over a year. I know it's not bad for everyone, but it does seem to be bad for a lot of people, and even among people who I think are in a good place, they all fear losing their jobs to AI." I know that for me, as someone who has lived paycheck to paycheck, but not even paycheck to paycheck because I was a freelance worker, so it's been basically gig to gig for decades, there was a sense that I'd never, ever get ahead. This was exacerbated, of course, living in California, and it's one of the primary reasons I left. But even still, I feel it. Everything is more expensive. Your dollar doesn't go as far. There's no incentive to save because you'll make 30 cents in interest over the course of 3 months, if even that. So you're rewarded for putting your money in the markets, which is risky, and that's if you even have money. I deeply relate to the meme based on the Star Wars scene, "You are the chosen one," that makes fun of the investor class saying, "Buy the dip." And then the response, "With what?" There was always a sense that there were people who cared about the stock market and could partake in it, and people like me who could not. Now, some of this is rich dad, poor dad, meaning if you come from money, you're taught different things about money. I did not come from money. And some of it is a poverty mentality that we get stuck in and never really get out of. And some of it is reality. Inflation is real and it has real world consequences. I'm not broke anymore, and yet I still feel broke. When socialist Mamdani won the primary to be mayor of New York, the election that's coming up in November, a quote from Peter Thiel on why 70% of millennials say they are pro-socialist made the rounds on social media. Thiel said, "When one has too much student debt or if housing is too unaffordable, then one will have negative capital for a long time. And if one has no stake in the capitalist system, then one may well turn against it." Another woman, a millennial in my Phetasy community, said, "All I know is that I still can't afford a home, and it seems like inflation is still high," which to me really gets to the heart of things. Inflation is at the heart of the persistent feeling of decline that many of us have. Rising prices ought not be a fact of life, and it's so much more than that. Milton Friedman said, "The tendency for inflation that is high on the average to be highly variable is reinforced by the effect of inflation on the political cohesiveness of a country in which institutional arrangements and financial contracts have been adjusted to a long-term normal price level. Some groups gain, for example, homeowners, others lose, owners of savings accounts and fixed interest securities. Prudent behavior becomes, in fact, reckless, and reckless behavior, in fact, prudent. The society is polarized one group is set against another, political unrest increases, the capacity of any government to govern is reduced at the same time that the pressure for strong action grows. Inflation and the frayed social fabric are intricately connected, and it also means that even the jobs that remain, we must work harder to achieve the same or less. So everyone pays, even if they don't realize it. And more importantly, we pay in ways that are insidious and can't be calculated in dollars. The negative consequences are difficult to overstate. The dream that is never chased, the risk never taken, the house never bought, the family never formed. Today, we're going to be talking to my friend and a mentor, Jim Burr, about the economy, stupid. He's helped me understand money in ways I didn't before. And more importantly, we want to hear from you. How are you feeling about the economy? Jobs? How has the big bill affected you? Has it in any way, positive or negative? What would make a difference for you and your family right now financially? I really am excited to hear from you. I think that in all of this noise, there's so much noise and everybody's talking about all these things, and really cutting through the noise. I want to know, how are you doing about that? How are you feeling about this? And sometimes the way we feel isn't even a fact. And I'm excited to talk to Jim Burr about parsing a lot of this. But first, some quick housekeeping. If you want to be called on, you need to be on Zoom on camera, and you need to virtually raise your hand by clicking the reactions button. If you aren't on Zoom and want to be a part of our virtual live audience right now or in the future, click the link in the description below to get the Zoom link below, or go to twoway.tv/Bridget Zoom. The Zoom link is the same every time, so put it in your calendar and save it. This is your home to come to. The voice of God that you will hear is Cousin Maggie.
Hello, everyone.
Many of you already know her. She is my actual cousin and co-producer. We make a lot of stuff together, like our shows Dumpster Fire, Walk-ins Welcome, and all the other content you can find at Phetasy.com. Maggie will be monitoring the chat. If you have something to say and you raise your hand, Maggie will message you privately to find out what you'd like to talk about. She's going to help make sure we stay on topic. So don't be offended if she cuts you off, and we try to keep things moving. We can't guarantee we'll get to everyone, but we will do our best. And everyone knows my number one rule: don't be a dick. So please don't act like your boomer relatives on Facebook. And now, quick word from our sponsor, Quest. Everyone who's dealing with an HMO like I am knows what a pain in the ass they are. If I want to get any sort of testing done to ensure I'm making my health a priority, I have to wait weeks for an appointment to see my doctor, then get a referral from her, and then wait weeks more for an appointment with the specialist I needed to see. It's all these hoops to jump through. Quest helps you cut through all the insurance nonsense and get the tests you need when you need them. Quest offers over 150 of the same tests trusted by doctors, including diagnostics for specific ailments like STDs, chronic conditions like heart, liver, and kidney disease, as well as testing that is almost never covered by health insurance, like fertility and advanced women's hormone testing. Quest also offers broad packages of tests that go way beyond the standard tests you typically get in an annual medical checkup. Concierge medicine and functional medicine doctors charge thousands of dollars for these types of workups. Quest offers them for a price of a night out on the town. Your health and well-being is worth it. Visit questhealth.com and use a discount code REALMADE25 and get 20% off your purchase. That's questhealth.com. Use the code REALMADE25 for 20% off. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link in the description below. And now I would love to bring in my friend, my mentor, and someone who's dear to my heart, Jim Burr. Jim Burr, everyone. Welcome to Real America.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Outstanding. How are you doing?
I'm doing, I have no complaints other than, just no complaints, actually. I'm feeling very grateful about life, but that's my kind of baseline, I think. He's muted. Hold on. We lost you.
I just asked him to unmute again.
One moment, please.
Old people
There we
with
go.
technology, right?
Boomers.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh
no,
no.
It's fine. That might have been on our end too.
Anyways, we were just talking about the fact that we've got generally a pretty positive outlook on life, but that's, I think, why we were able to have such good conversation. So thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. I mean, I'm by no means a financial expert, or this is not financial advice. Okay. Like, let's get that out of the way, right? Like, don't take anything I say for, being investment advice. But yeah, I think it's a topic that has always kind of fascinated me. And, with the climate being what it is, economically, I know, everyone, the audience here is from all over. So I'm guessing that, a lot of it's geographically based. I know that, where I'm at, where I live, there's one view of the economy. Where I work, there's a very different view of the economy. And it's
Interesting.
interesting to see, right? Because I think it is a lot about how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about where our neighbors are, how our communities are doing. And that really kind of forms our basis for how we feel about money and how we're doing.
Yeah,
And
that's an interesting thing about money is that it's hard to really get a realistic picture of it because so much about it is what season of life you might be in as well, which I feel grateful to even be able to say seasons of life because that's something that happens like in middle age. But it is something like I didn't consider how much it changes when you're on a fixed income, for example, versus when you're in your primary earning years and you're just trying to chase as much money and wealth as you possibly can versus if you're on disability or if you're so it is like completely almost an individual every individual could have a completely different opinion about money or the economy depending on where they are. So it makes it hard to actually get a sense of, like Marissa said, there is this disconnect between what they're telling us it's like versus what it actually is. But how do you even get a sense of what it actually is?
well, it's very local, isn't it? Right? It's very much about how you feel about it.
Yeah.
You can listen to people tell you how great it is over here or over there, but it's really about you. And I think, we've talked about that before. And, if you're poor, you have a very different view of money than you do if you're rich. And I think you brought up age as well. I think you may recall a conversation we had several years ago when I was feeling very frustrated with work. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to walk away from this really good paying job and I'm going to live on $25,000 a year. And thankfully I talked myself out of that because that was insanity, right? Like that's just, like sounds great in theory. But it's, I think, when we first started talking about this, it's something that's kind of a taboo subject, isn't it? Right? Like you're
Yes.
supposed to, when you're raised, you're like, you don't talk about this, you don't talk about this, you don't talk about money, because like if you got it, then you're a show off. If you don't got it, no one wants to listen to you about,
Right.
whine about the bills, right? And so, um, you're just supposed to make do with what you've got and shut up about it.
It
And
reminds me of that famous scene in Aviator where he's like, "We don't talk," where they're talking at the dinner table, and she's like, "We don't talk about money here," and he's like, "Yeah, because you've always had it. Like you don't need to talk about it. You come from money." That was we didn't really we were also raised not to talk about money because it was seen as kind of like, just it's like money, politics, religion. You just don't talk about those things. And so
and
there's a lot of secrecy and shame and feelings of so much of our worth in America is attached to how much money we have. I always talk to people in even my industry, entertainment. That this was one thing that I would see happening where a lot of my friends would be doing exceptionally well. I could even apply this to me, and I do when I'm feeling like I'm not doing anything, but because so many people around us were famous and rich and they were 1, 2 degrees away, you feel like you're the poor one in your friend group, but by any normal standards, that's not reality.
and I mean, in America, I mean, our living standards are so much greater than in other areas of the
It's
globe. It's kind of like,
insane.
yeah, crazy, right? It's crazy. And
Yeah.
but again, that's why I say it's very, very local, right? It's very, very centered on you or your family or your community, right? And I'm fortunate to know people who are very, very passionate about their communities and want to do what they can to help bring jobs or prosperity or whatever, whatever that looks like, right? Because it's very different from, area to area.
So how, in the disconnect you're seeing between, say work and the people in your community, for example, or in your life or online or whatever, is this a generational thing? Is it young versus old? Is it political? Is it, like this is an interesting phenomenon that I've observed too, just being caught in the crossfire of the culture wars, is that a lot of how you feel about the economy can be whether or not your guy won the election. So
Yeah.
you'll feel optimistic if your team won, and then there's incentive for you to get behind whatever they do and feel like it's better, even if it's not. There was a lot of gaslighting in the last administration about no, grocery prices aren't going up. Well, you're like, but we can see that they are.
Yeah. What are you going to believe? Me or your own lying eyes, right? And
Yeah.
I think, for me, I think it's about trust, right? Like those people who trust kind of like the direction or the noise or the news or whatnot, they're the ones who tend to feel a lot more optimistic or a lot more secure or a lot more safe, right? Like they feel like, okay, this is predictable, there's a future, everything's going to be fine. Those who don't have that trust, right, tend to be those who are feeling a lot more pessimistic about it, right? And so I think that, money as a concept is really rooted in trust, right? I mean,
Mm.
you go back thousands of years and people trusted gold and silver and, because of a lot of different things, right? And we're not going to, there's rabbit holes, right? Believe me, there's rabbit
So
holes,
many
right?
rabbit
There's so
holes.
many rabbit holes, but we're not necessarily going to go down those. But it really is about trust. And, if you trust, kind of what you're hearing on the news, then you're like, yeah, okay, this is going to work out. This is going to be fine. And if you're like, oh, it's all bullshit, I'm not going to, then you're feeling very, very pessimistic. And then you're taking kind of like the counter argument, or at least that's what I'm seeing, right? Is folks saying, well, what about this? Like you talked about the gaslighting of the last administration, which was epic. Like, let's not, joke about that. I mean, we could joke about it now. It's
Yeah.
funny now. Wasn't then. But the gaslighting's only really begun.
Totally.
Right, with this new administration, and we've already seen some trickles of it. I don't mean to say that it's a competition who's going to outgas like the other, right?
It feels like it is.
Well,
it actually feels like a competition to see who can gaslight us the most sometimes.
sweeps week, right? Like it's coming, right? Like you get your gaslighting written up when, let's get it depressed. Yeah, I definitely, to me, that's what I see, is it's really rooted in trust. If you see signs that things are going to turn around, if you have hope, if you will, rooted in trust in what you're hearing, then you're probably feeling pretty good. But if you don't, if you think it's all a bunch of lies, and then you're not. And by the way, neither one is wrong. Like that's the beauty of being local, right? That's the beauty of being an individual, is you're not wrong. But it does have an impact on what your outcome might be. And I think that awareness, right? Like that self-awareness of, I'm not feeling really good. Well, let's drill into why. Like, why? Why do I think I'm being lied to, right? Or why do I feel good about this, right? Like, what is it that I'm seeing that's making me feel good? And recognize that, again, I may be hearing what I want to hear. And, and avoiding that I don't want to hear. And I think that, for me, that's been how I've been able to keep kind of an even keel, is like, well, it's all bullshit. So let's just play the game, right? Like, let's find out what the rules are and figure out how to play it.
So how does one approach playing the game?
Yeah, I mean,
this feels like a fundamental difference to me, just in the way you view it, because being someone who has regularly only had $7 in my bank account for many years in my life, sure, it may have felt like a game in that it was like, well, how am I going to make it work this time? But that game probably took years off my life just in stress. And I do feel like some people, when you have money, are like, oh, let's play this game, or you have resources. And when you're really struggling and deciding, Jaron and I were talking about this before I came on, before I went live. And it was like, it's all relative too. So for some people, they're deciding if they can spend that $10. For other people, it's $100. For other people, it's 1,000. That's a bridge too far. And for some people, it's 10,000 is like 100 to you. So, that's why it's also hard to even stay on message with money if you're trying to talk to, the masses about money. As we've pointed to, every individual has a different gripe or issue or concern.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, me personally, right? I mean, the way that I decided to play the game was like really just kind of like look at, well, what is money? What is this that I'm obsessing about? What is it that I'm losing sleep over? Right. And, me being a rabbit hole kind of guy, I went through some rabbit holes and figured it out. Like, why did they invent it? What's the purpose?
But Jim, no one has time for this.
No, I get it. I'm weird. I get it. And I'm not, this is not a forum where me to, did you know the Sumerians? No, that's not
You're
really.
like, money is broken. We're like, we know.
Yeah. We get that. But what I would say is that's how you figure out what the game is. And there's a lot of different games. Like you talked about, like kind of some of the stock market games and things like that. I mean, I remember when I was broke, like the game was check kiting, because you used to be able to do that, right? And that was where you would like write a check and deposit it and then wait for it to cash. Like you had a few days there before it would cash, so you live off of that money. And that was the game that poor people used to play, right? Was the check kiting game. And if you got caught, well, oh well, you gotta make it up somehow. But it's not a good game to play, by the way. And they took it away from us, so we can't play it anymore. But it's just different games.
I mean, the young people, I really do feel as even boomers who I find, no offense, just
I'm not a boomer, by the way.
I
No
know.
offense taken. Yeah.
Okay, good. Then offense to the boomers. Even boomers, I try to really understand why they, as the dollar is devalued, as inflation goes up, as they live longer than ever before, they don't know what care is going to cost as they get older. And as someone who has volunteered with the elderly and never thought I'd live past the age of 35, I will tell you, there's a terrifying discrepancy in the end of life care, depending on how much money you have. And that was something that was really eye-opening to me. So I can understand, as you approach that, why you would be wary about just, God forbid, helping your children pull up and get ahead. And I do think there's so many memes online on Instagram about like the boomers when they bought their house. It's like boomers after they bought their house for nine blueberries, and they're all like line dancing, and they sold it for 7 figures. And Cernovich was talking not too long ago about how boomers would rather sell their house to BlackRock for $1 more than, God forbid, like pass it on to a family member or lose any value in their home whatsoever. And I do think the house thing, for some reason, when you talk about a lot of this, like, look, for all the insanity that Tucker spews the other day when he was talking about how people can't buy a home and that's a real problem, he still doesn't see that changing, and he still doesn't see people being able to have that American dream that was very free, given, kind of came quite easily to boomers and even somewhat to Gen X, but it's not available. I talk to millennials, and like, it's crazy how much you need for a house. And this is not just in California, just anywhere. And that's not to mention granted, interest rates are actually quite normal. My parents are always like, but interest rate on my first house was 15%. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So they're kind of average. I'm not too stressed about it, but it does make it very hard in this economy to try and pay your mortgage, get a house. Childcare is insane. So for people, when we're talking about things grounded in reality, those are serious things. And I do understand why Peter Thiel's quote about people feeling out of the capitalist system is, I think, accurate. Like, this is a big problem. It's a big problem if people don't feel like they can get it in on the board of Monopoly at all.
Right. And I think, again, not to be too conceptual here, but it does go back to trust, right? Like the basis of trust is predictability, right? So you talk about like end of life care and planning for the future and uncertainty and so on and so forth. If in an unpredictable environment, you're going to feel, buffeted on all sides, right? Like you have no idea. And so therefore your trust erodes. And I mean, your lack of trust is real. Like your purchasing power has not kept up, right? It's just, I mean, and we talk about inflation, and what we mostly talk about when we're talking about inflation is stuff people buy. But the real inflation is in like the stock market and the bond market. The reason the stock market's at all these all-time highs is because that's where the money is going, right?
Yeah.
And it's just housing. Housing's expensive, yes. And it's going to stay that way until you get some money out of the system. But then, how do you get money out of the system without collapsing it? Well, that's, good question, right?
Well, we have 5 hands raised right now, so we should get to the people.
Sure.
We want to hear from the people.
All right. First, I'm going to bring up Philip. Now, he is an economist, so I asked him to keep it simple for us. And I told him not to get too technical, please.
Philip, you can get technical, I'm sure, with Jim, but with, little old me and my my restaurant background, I'm not too smart.
No, come on. The first thing is the thing to think about is money is just an avatar, a representation of the products that are created in a closed system. And during the COVID lockdowns, the government flooded the system with currency at the same time that the products, the production was, because of the lockdowns, was reduced. So we had more dollars flying around trying to buy less stuff. The problem is that prices are sticky down. So once prices go up, they don't go back down. So now we're in the situation where, the price levels have gone way up above where they were in 2018, 2019. They're not going to come back down. And so the only way to increase purchasing power is to, frankly, cut government spending and grow the productivity. AI is going to help. And I think this is kind of what Besant is trying to do, with the tariffs, is bring the productivity of the closed system back within the shores of the United States so that you have more people actually making stuff to spend US dollars on versus buying imports, from other places. With consumer spending, we've improved the quality of life of people all around the world. The wage rates in China since 2014 have increased by a factor of 20. They've gone up 20x in China. So we've taken millions, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people out of poverty in China. But at the same time, we've given away our own quality of life in the Rust Belt and, outsourced all of that actual making of stuff. So I think that's the situation we find ourselves in. And the other thing that the government does, which I'm not a big fan of, the reason the house prices are so high is because of government interventions in the housing market, lots of regulations, zoning laws, NIMBY problems. I mean, there's really a lot of opportunity, and maybe there's some information that's just not available to a lot of people. But if you could find it within yourself to buy 5 acres in the northern Arizona desert and build an Earthship with a satellite dish, you could have a wonderful quality of life. Get out of the city and live out there in a self-sufficient house for 200 grand and be set. But people have this idea, well, they either don't know about it or they have this idea that you have to be in a city in a penthouse apartment next to Central Park or something for $60 million. It's crazy. But
yeah.
So it's about information and government intervention. They're either pumping the money into the system without growing productivity, so everything gets more expensive, or they're imposing these regulations that make it almost impossible to expand the housing stock.
So when you say that AI is going to increase productivity, it seems like everything that I hear from everyone graduating from college is that there are no jobs. So do you know when that's going to happen? And
Well,
or because it
AI
feels like a
isn't gonna-
bloodbath right now.
Yeah, AI is not going to create more jobs. It's just going to make the people that currently have jobs more efficient. They can, by producing a higher quality or higher volume of work, whatever they're doing, they could justify a raise. So I can see the people that do learn AI tools and remain in the workforce, they can get paid more money.
But what about all the people who are going to not have jobs?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks, Philip. We
5
appreciate
acres
you.
and an earthship in northern Arizona.
We've solved it.
That's
Yeah.
his solution.
Oh, geez.
All right.
Every single one of these solutions always comes back to get out of the cities, buy guns and ammo.
Right. And
Yeah,
go
exactly.
live in the desert, apparently.
Sound, and great beard, Philip. I think someone in this chat said it looked like a before and after picture.
Yeah, that's
yeah, looking good, my friend. Thanks for that. And Philip, keep me in check here,
Thanks.
but I think during the COVID crisis, I seem to recall that like 25% of every dollar that ever existed was printed during like 2020 to 2022. So yeah, you're going to get inflation because like
Wow.
all of a sudden you had all this money, which was really just currency that they were printing and borrowing. And I think about that a lot. I live in the Rust Belt, and when I drive by some of these larger cities that have been left behind, I often think about the fact that, this neighborhood used to have people. Now it's a neighborhood in China that has all these jobs, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
neighborhood over there, and it's disheartening. I could
Yeah.
see where the anger and the resentment really comes from. And I mean, I try and avoid it, but I mean, it's real. It's absolutely real.
You said this earlier, but the highest consumer inflation for things that real people buy was 9%, although the currency was increased by 25, and you already said where the rest of that went. It went into the stock market. So the appreciation in the stock market, which accrues to the already wealthy predominantly, what is this wealth transfer that Jimmy Dore's always talking about? I mean,
Yeah,
it was
Carol
a
Roth, too.
program. Yeah, exactly.
And gold and Bitcoin too, pretty good store of inflation right there. So
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Philip.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Philip.
Always good to hear
Good
from
to
you.
see you.
All right. I'm going to bring up Season next. Go.
Hi,
Hi, Season.
what's going on?
Welcome.
That beard, Jim, I'm telling you.
thank you. I
Have
mean,
you-
I hope that's a thank
Have you
you.
ever braided it?
No,
See Viking in that for one of these.
I thought about it, but I have not yet. I wanted to grow it a little bit longer before I do that, but I appreciate that. Thank you, Season. Much appreciated.
Yeah, no problem. I'm impressed. I think talking about the economy, so my pattern has been from like I stayed home with my kids for 11 years, and I will never regret that. It's the best time of my life. Really difficult. But then like we had medical bills pile up. So then like 7 years ago, I went part-time as I have a government job that everyone's talking about government jobs, but I work for a local municipality as a code enforcement officer, worst job in the world. So so it was like the idea was, okay, well, I'll work part-time for 2 or 3 years. We'll pay off our medical bills, and then I can go back to home to taking care of the kids. That never happened because then COVID hit, and then prices have gone up. And now just this year, I went full-time. And so like my husband is full-time working a really good job as an editor. He's been an editor over 20 years, Emmy award-winning editor, really good. He gets really good pay. He's doing side gigs. We're doing a YouTube channel to try and like get income that way. And I'm full-time, and we are still fucked regularly financially.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cuss. I'm just like, I personally feel that the rate that prices are going up right now still, and the cost of things, and we have 3 kids.
Yeah.
So one of the special needs, which requires different things and so I just feel like as a mother, I feel absolutely screwed by this economy because the exchange was supposed to be, I go into the workforce and it's worth losing time with my children because it helps us get ahead. And that's not what happens.
Yeah.
You go to the workforce as a mother and you're just stuck there.
Yeah.
And then you got to pay for childcare, which is one of the reasons I stayed home is because we knew I would give better childcare to my children. But because it would have literally been even when my first was born in 2007, it would have just zeroed each other out.
Yeah.
What I would have made as a teacher and what I would have paid for childcare would have basically not been worth it. So I stayed home with them, and we're never regretting that. I don't know if my children will be able to make that choice. I don't know if my daughters will be able to stay home with their kids if they want to make that choice for the first 3 or 4 years, because the way the economy is, it's set up for 2 incomes now, but that's not even enough. Like I said, we've got two full-time incomes. My husband's doing side gigs for video work and editing. Okay, he's pitching to try and get stuff that way. And he works for the Penguins running camera. Okay, we have all of this coming in, and it's still now because I went full time, now we're bumped into another tax bracket.
Right.
Now we're getting screwed on taxes. And I'm just sitting here and like we talk about this regularly. I'm like, what is happening to the middle class?
Yeah.
Like we are getting squeezed out of existence right now. And there's no incentive to make more money. What's the incentive? So you can get taxed more? And so that and then if you want to, God forbid, eat a slight bit healthier than most Americans, you're going to pay most of our highest expense is food right now, because we're not buying like garbage food for our children. And I have a kid on the spectrum that has to have a gluten-free, dairy-free diet. That costs money. So it's just like, I look at this and my frustration level with the economy, like I voted for Trump, not because of Trump. I like Bobby Kennedy. That's who I was voting for.
Yeah.
If Trump had not brought Bobby Kennedy on, I would never have voted for him. I've been a libertarian since Ron Paul. I will never vote for Republicans again. I've been out of that party for a while, but because I liked Bobby, even though he's, I didn't necessarily like his economic stuff, but I liked his attitude towards bringing America back. I liked his pitch. And then Trump did the smart thing and put together a team. And I was like, okay, fine. I've never voted for the man in my life, but Bobby's going to be there. They'll be okay, fine. He pulled me through it that way. But now I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, maybe the tariffs will help. But like right now for the middle class, we need relief with prices. Prices are just, and like you said, prices are like sticky, and so are taxes. There's no such thing as a temporary tax. Once a tax is passed, it's never going away. It's the same thing going on with prices. Like, how are you going to bring them down unless you do something? There has to be Doge. I was hopeful for. I was like, okay, Doge is going to make these cuts. It's painful. We make them all the time on our family budget.
Right.
The government needs to do it because for the rest of us, it's going to benefit us. And then we have the big beautiful bill. We have all this spending. We have them doing all this crap with the ceiling. And I'm like, you literally don't give a shit about us, because if you did, you would do something with the money supply. You'd make it, because the middle class is going away in front of our face. We're going away. We're getting taxed to death. And yeah, it's like I grew up working class, so I only know so much about money. All I know is, hey, we're like, we just work harder, right? We just have more income streams. We're working harder. We have more income streams. It's not fixing anything. It's actually, I took a $20,000 raise going full time in a job I hate, and it's not really helping because it actually made things worse to certain degrees. So my frustration is like, as a mother, my money is not, that exchange I was promised is not worth it. I wouldn't go back to being home with my kids while they're still home, because
trust.
It's a better exchange rate. And guess what? If we made less money, we'd probably qualify for more help. So it's like, why should I work full time? Why should I do this job? The only reason I'm doing it is because the health benefits. We're paying $1,000 in health benefits a month, and now we're paying $100 because we got those good government health benefits. But like, what incentive is there to work hard so that you can pay more in taxes, so that you move up, then you know more, so then you want to eat healthier, so then you're paying more.
Yeah.
I was frustrated as a mother and as like middle class, because I was promised being a working class kid in a working class house, the first person to graduate from college. I was promised, oh, go to college, take out your federal loans as a Gen Xer, and it'll be your ticket to making a lot of money. And it's like, I talked to my dad, who's an HVAC tech, who just retired. And he's like, my mom stayed home, my dad worked, and like, we made it. We were okay. You could never do that.
I think we're all super frustrated by
I don't know for my kids.
I think you speak for a lot of people.
Yeah.
For my kids, I'm really worried about them. I've got 3 Gen Z kids. One wants to go to college. And I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we have to hold on to this house because I'm not sure you'll be able to buy one. Like, I don't know, that's my frustration, is that, like, you work, you try and get all these income streams, and you get punished for it right now. You're just getting punished. The more you make, the more punishment you get. And it doesn't really help. And it just doesn't, it feels like I'm on a hamster wheel. And I feel like, okay, I voted for someone I thought cared about that, but I'm not seeing much of a change right now at
Yeah.
all. That's my rant. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank
No.
you.
Spot on. I mean, it's spot on. That's what we were talking about, right? Season is, it's like, it's so hard. And the trust, like, is just not there that they're going to do the right thing. Doge was great, right? Like, there was a lot of excitement. And now, I mean, I know they're still working and whatnot, but it's just, it's frustrating, incredibly frustrating.
Do we have
Thank you, Season.
Thank you, Season.
All right, we've got
Hang
some
in
other
there.
people we're going to bring up here. I'm going to bring up Ben.
Hey,
Hey,
Hi,
Ben.
Ben.
hey. So the more I read and follow economy at the national level, the more appreciative I am that I'm not in politics, and less I want to be in politics, because for me, like, for what's going to help me economically, it's not, really, I don't know. It's not the big beautiful bill. It's not whatever Harris would have done, at least that I've found. I feel like I've gone beyond black pilled when it comes to the the economy, and I'm trying to I'm kind of right in the middle millennial, maybe older millennial. And so the idea of, well, my parents had this, my parents were both teachers, 4 kids, they both worked, took some time off, but had side jobs, but they made it work, and then bought a house, that whole thing. And at this point, like, I have a house, but it's having to, and I'm in Southern California too. So having to kind of continually talk to myself, and as I go down that train, it really feels like it's not even like that's how it was. It feels more of like it's like someone who's like fled a country. Like, oh, in my old country, this is how things work, but now I'm in this country, and it's having to tell myself, like, it's not going to be that way, and learning to accept that as much as I can from at my level. Because for me, it's like what would help me is not what's going to help, well, the economists of the world, of like, hey, lower my interest rate, right? I would love to be able to upgrade to, you know, sell my house to get a bigger house, but even with the equity I have, it's not my payment would literally double because interest rates took such a dive in the middle of COVID. And listen, I didn't like the last administration, but like things like my 401k grew, like shot off like a rocket. So when I hear, I've done a lot of staying out of how is the economy doing, because it's so much is dependent on what you own and don't own. And I can totally understand from Peter Thiel's article that mindset, because we have people running for public office as socialists. We don't really have people running as capitalists necessarily. And so I don't see it as like a conservative liberal much as it is your situation in life economically speaking. No one's like I said, people are it might be pro market, free market, pro capitalist, but it's I understand what he's saying. Like, there are people who are more prone to certain ways of thinking in terms of socialism if they don't own anything, because they're not really seeing or like understanding the benefit of that kind of a system.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of, and I'm not smart enough to know either, but I've seen a lot of people who push back on this idea that the middle class is disappearing. There's a lot of, I don't know if this is true or not, but there are people that'll come out on Twitter with their chart, or X or whatever, with their charts, and say, like, actually the quality of life is raised for everybody. So, Jim, do you know, is it true the middle class is disappearing, or is that just a feeling? Like, I perceive that, I felt it more in California. I will say that felt true to me more in California than it does in Texas.
I mean, I think what my take is on that, right, is that, there's charts, there's graphs, there's statistics and whatnot, but it's really about perception, right? Like, if you can look at all the charts in the world, if you're in a situation like Season was talking about, it does not matter,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Like it does not matter.
Yeah.
And so I think that local, right? Like that local and the trust is so important. And Ben, kind of to your point in Southern California, congratulations. I mean, making it out there, that's amazing, right? It's a very different kind of spot. I mean, and again, the middle class. I mean, if you keep moving up, like what is the definition of middle class? What's the definition of poverty? And so you move the numbers up and you inflation adjusted and whatnot. I mean, it's all just numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all just numbers, and it looks great on a chalkboard, right? It looks great on a chalkboard, and you come up with theories, and what people don't live on a chalkboard,
A
right?
chalkboard.
Yeah, I'm not a boomer, but I am hardcore Gen X, and I remember.
Yeah, I would say like middle class, my parents' generation, a lot of it was home ownership. If you talk to a millennial now, the ones who own homes, the percentage of them who only are in that situation because of a gift from their parents,
Yeah.
one way or the other, it's shockingly high. And it's
Yeah.
not, because it's not measured just by your income status or type of job. I feel like the classical definition was the idea of like home ownership or property ownership of some sort. And so while things have comparatively, even with inflation, maybe wages have gone up to a certain extent in certain sectors and whatnot, things like home ownership, I just feel is shifted to where perhaps Gen X or even boomers have 2 to 3 homes, whereas millennial and below, it's the percentage is so much lower.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, you hit on something there, Ben, too, that is also part of kind of, I think historically, and I don't have any fancy charts or graphs to back it up, but I think that passing of the home on from generation to generation is actually well rooted, particularly out west, I think, right? Like that's actually been that way for a while. And I'm not sure where, kind of like that's been, I don't want to say stigmatized, but like it's not seen as like a valid type of wealth transfer, even though it's, got a lot of historical precedent to it, right? And
That's
maybe
what
that's
was
because we all went to college and we all went into the city and got big jobs and had to live and so on and so forth. But it is something that is that's real out there. I think about it all the time. Like, I would love to be able to give my house to my family when I move on, but they're not interested in it, right? So it's okay, well, you do what you want,
I'm
right?
sure my child would be.
Missing out.
We'll talk. Yeah.
Bridget's
I don't have a
lining up her
space-
daughter's inheritance on
I
the
just
show.
make sure she has a farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some kind of property.
Get it in writing.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks.
Just like assuring some kind of.
All right, I'm going to bring up Chris next.
Yeah, it's so interesting too. I'm sitting here now thinking like about the American dream and how that's different for everyone and how it's not everybody feels like they have access to it ever. And the stuff in Altadena and Palisades was so tragic because those were generational families that lived there and passed down their homes and kept that value, and now they're all gone. But sorry, go on. Who do we have? Chris?
Okay,
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Good evening, everybody. I have a couple of comments. Love season. Ben, you were great. I think I really get caught up with how we define things, and they've tried to define things differently. It's like a vaccine's a vaccine, a jab is not a vaccine, for example. So the middle class hasn't existed in almost 50 years. If we look at what was the middle class, usually a father out working, even had a pension, good savings home, mom home with the kids, at least to a certain age. So back then in the 50s and the 60s, we had that. The people that both had to work and live hand to mouth were working poor. So most people who feel they're middle class are working poor. Technically, they want to feel good about themselves. The government keeps saying, "Oh, you're middle class," but we should be much more angry than we are. We talk about the homes and what's happening with the houses. I've done this for 38 years with all families and businesses. A lot of the past 20 years, a lot of the parents have had to mortgage their house to pay for college degrees that aren't working. I really believe that we should have a class action lawsuit. There should be a lemon law. If I have a student loan that I can't pay with a 4-year degree in my hand, I've been cheated. It's like a Cadillac. I drove the Cadillac off the lot, went to the red light, it stopped dead. Cadillac has to pay me back for it. So it really is a lemon law think about it. Every parent that I deal with, thousands in my career, if you ask them, is your kid going to be able to support themselves after college 4 years? They say yes. That's why they're going. But it's a lie. The school,
Mm.
remember, there's no responsibility. The school only has to keep you in a seat in a class for the add drop date. That's it. Then the tuition is lost. So anyway, but going back to about getting a job, and I deal with thousands of people all year. You have to remember that the smaller the company, the more allegiance the owners have to you. Fortune 100, there's no skin in the game. Be dealing with director. I deal with tons of big investment people all over Wall Street, and the only people that own it are stockholders. I want to deal at least. I don't want to be any more than one position below the owner to see what's happening, to get the feel for things. If you're helping an owner build their business, there's great allegiance there. Like I have a team of 6, it's 8 in tax season. So I urge everyone, try to go smaller. And also, sales is king, of course. The best salespeople are the last people fired, usually in any
That's good
situation.
advice.
Thank
Because you
you.
got to be, and I have a quiz I did. I get tons of calls. Can I be replaced with AI? I did a quiz in Google Forms that asked the questions you need to know how much in jeopardy you are. But no, I'm always here to answer questions. But Jim, you're great. I appreciate you for a long time, and everyone on the panel here has been great. So,
Thank you, Chris.
but
Put your
we
quiz
should,
in the chat, in the
we
main
should be,
chat, please.
but we should be
for us.
very very angry about it. And there's because I feel this emotional stuff coming me every day for years, and people are so they're disgruntled, they're upset, they feel like they're failing. It's like the worst feelings I get all the time. The people
Mm.
feel that they failed when the system has failed them. They've done everything right. These people have done everything they're supposed to do since they're 2 years old. Their parents told them, the government told them, everybody told them, and yet they're not getting the payoff that they deserve. That's how I see it.
Appreciate you, Chris. Thank you so much. And, I think you're spot on. I promised Bridget I wasn't going to go down any rabbit holes, but I mean, like the erosion of buying power is real. And you're right. You go and you follow the rules that they told you to follow, and all you end up with is, kind of a handful of empty promises. Yeah, and you think and you blame it on yourself. Oof. I mean, there is some accountability for yourself because you ultimately believed what you were told, right? Despite looking around and seeing, well, this doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But, that's not the entire story, right? Like you got ripped off. You're not the criminal, right? So thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
Thank
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 you.
you.
Put your quiz in the chat for us too, please, Chris. Make sure everyone sees it. Okay.
I am AI. Just kidding.
I
She
knew
will be
it.
soon. It's
I
Bridget's
knew it.
dream to be
I've already been
like
replaced.
avatar replacer. All right, I'm gonna bring up Joshua Curtis.
Everyone's like, how are you so productive? You have so many shows. Like Bridget's already replaced herself with AI.
Beep boop. Yeah, exactly. Hi, Joshua.
How you doing, Jim?
Good, good.
Hi, Joshua.
How you doing? I would, as somebody that works in IT, and first, I have to say that I really feel for Season. We have
Yeah.
4 kids, and 3 of them are special needs, and one in particular has many, many, many issues. We live in Northern California. We're California natives, and we moved out of California in 2014. And we came back in 2017, 2018, and it got worse. And we're still here. We've been through the campfire in Northern California. We're still dealing with that. But I mean, I'm saying all that to just say that, Season, you're doing extremely great.
Yep.
I want to encourage you, and I want you not to give up. It no pun intended, it is a season. It will. Yeah, not trying to be silly, but it will fade. It will go away. It's going to take time. I know that doesn't help right now, especially when bills are piling up. I was like you just yesterday. I had it. I have a job right now locally here. It pays jack squat. I've been laid off twice in less than a year, and we rent. 50% of my income goes to paying the rent.
Yep.
and we have the cost of food that's going up. The pain is real. You cannot afford with what, when we were in our 20s, we didn't think about, oh, hey, maybe we should go ahead and, buy a home. We should look into investing. We didn't think about that. I'm turning 50 in 3 months, 4 months. So for me, I'm like, okay, time's beginning to wind down as far as my ability to produce. The point of all of it is that even though this economy right now seems to be very stagnant, we've been through this before. We've had economies during the early 80s that were highly stagnant with horrible interest rates for our parents. We got through it. We had in the 90s twice. We had in the early 2000s, right after 9/11, there was a very poor period of time, and then of course we remember the financial crisis then that hit, and then what led after that from 2008 to about 2016. It was 8 years of struggling. We that was horrific. We left California for work because of that. We're in the process of doing that again right now. If things don't pick up here and we cannot find something within the next, I would say, 6 months, then we're going to have to really look at moving out. And for us, that's finding a place that is good for my wife's health, because I take care of her. One that that's homeschool friendly, because we've been homeschooling all of our kids. And that was a choice that we made. Our oldest has graduated a year early and just graduated from the welding program here. And he's going on and he's going to do great things. I'm not worried about him. I'm concerned about our 17-year-old who has the processing speed of a 6 to a 9-year-old and is very aggressive. And then there's my other 2 kids who are, 15 and 14. It's like, well, you guys really aren't getting much of anything here. And I'm really sorry about the light there in the background. Can't really help that. We have the opportunity to move and go somewhere else. I think that's something that's not focused on. We've done it before where we weren't in it. We could have stuck it out in California in 2012, 25, I think it was 2012, 2014, I can't remember. But we chose to pick up and move. And our kids were little. We had 4 who were, 3 of them were still in diapers. And we moved. We made that decision and we made it work. That said, there's still hope that's there. We have the ability to pick up and move compared to other places, other countries where you don't have that. I have friends of mine that are still in Ireland right now, and they're getting overwhelmed by the policies that are being ran by their government, and they don't have they don't have the freedoms that we have here. I think it also goes back to you, Jim, and saying that it's local. We have to look at everything local. We have to look at our local governments, our local economies. Hey, are things really beginning to wind down where we're at? Maybe we should look at getting out, because there's always warning signs. If that makes sense.
That makes so much sense. And thank you for saying that to Season. I just want to be clear too, that I wasn't trying to throw Season under the bus when I was bringing up the charts about the middle class. It's just something that people often say to me when I'm saying the middle class is disappearing.
It feels like it.
It does feel like it. And it bothers me because, like Jim said, it doesn't matter if there are charts that show it's not, if you feel like I can relate to both of you. My industry is I'm very easily replaceable in many senses of the word. There's a lot of uncertainty. I'm entertainment. I'm basically like a luxury item. And I know that the elephant that kind of sits on your chest at night when you're going to sleep, trying to figure out how you're going to make it all work. And I don't have 4 kids. I don't have a child with special needs. So it's so helpful to hear from people who are going through it, and you giving her support and telling her that it is a season, I think is, and like you said, we had the ability to move. We could leave California. If I was stuck in California, it would be bad. There's no way.
We're strongly thinking about moving to Texas. That's what we're really are thinking. I know people in Texas are going, why? We don't want you anymore. I'm like, there's a lot of sane people in California. We're just outnumbered.
Yeah.
So
I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, and I worked for a company for almost 5 years that they left California and they moved to Tennessee. And we actually moved to Tennessee no, we didn't move. Let me rephrase that. We went out for a trip to see if it was plausible, and then we were getting ready to move, and then they laid off all the California employees.
Yeah. Well, and I will say it's also just about a general feeling. So there's a feeling here in Texas, and this is something that I loved, of building, of expansion, of like there's a feeling of hope, and there's a feeling of people who are really trying to make things. And I know quite a few people who are trying to make things that make a difference in the world and locally.
Yeah.
Different colleges, different schools. You have this opportunity to educate your kids in whatever way you want. There's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of tech moving here. So there's like a forward looking, lots of Hollywood. I mean, I was just in LA, and this is a tangent, and I know we've got to wrap up, but it feels like what I imagine Detroit felt like when the auto industry left there.
Ooh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Crazy. Like, people are there and they're like, it's coming back. You're like, it's never coming back, guys.
Why?
It's never coming back.
Right.
It's crazy. It's very unsettling in LA
music
right now.
as well. I mean, music as well. I'm a blues musician, so I mean, for me, everything. And my wife also worked in the music industry for a long period of time, and it was always in Southern California. That's where music was. Same thing with entertainment. Not anymore.
No,
it's elsewhere. It's
decentralized.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, Joshua. We've got one more hand, so I want to bring up Max. But thank you so much, Joshua.
Max, we got to keep it quick. Thank you so much. Hang in there too. You yourself, please hang in there.
Where did Max go?
Max is like, I'm out.
He disappeared on me. Oh, there he is.
Max is our regular at the bar. Hello, Max.
Hey, Max.
It's really not a real America.
Wait, we can't hear you, Max.
Got a word for Max.
You're not muted.
There, does that work?
There.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, no, California is a mess. I live in Idaho, and it's growing like crazy up here. And we used to visit California all the time, and I haven't been to California since like 2018, and I don't feel the need to go back over there. So yeah, I could imagine it's probably not so good down there right now. But what I was gonna say is kind of going back into the previous episode about addiction. I did the math, and I was spending about like $400 a month on beer. So when I cut that habit out, like, I'm saving so much money now.
I know.
And then it's expensive.
I have a joke about this. When I quit drinking, I thought I put all the money I would have spent on beer and wine and whatnot. And I'm a girl, so it wasn't like I was buying every drink I got at the bar. And I put it in a literal shoebox under my bed, and I thought that it was going to be like a couple, like $80 or something. And it was $7,000.
Yeah.
Like, it was great. This was throughout a summer, and I was waiting tables. I was like, holy shit. Like, this is why I have no savings. So I think you do raise a good point, which is that it's very easy to be like, oh no, we're not making enough money. And I'm not suggesting this about anyone who has spoken before, but there is a certain amount of like looking at our own habits and personal responsibility that we have to take before we can truly be like, it's the system. If you're spending like $7,000 every quarter on weed, like, okay, maybe that's why. I was always saying, like, millennials, you don't have a house because you buy these IPAs and weed. Like they're
It
trying to
adds
convince you
up.
it's the avocado toast and it's the freaking weed.
It adds up.
It does.
I mean, I think I've saved like $5,000 this year. I mean,
Yep.
it's great. And then I stopped eating fast food because that's super expensive.
Yeah.
So I just eat like the same boring sandwich every day for lunch.
Yeah.
And it's I
Nutritious,
think
right? Gets the job done.
yeah.
Right?
I think I don't know. I think there's a I know I fell in the habit, but I think Americans get in the habit of every day's got to be a different day and exciting and party all the time, and it's expensive. It's like it's okay to be boring.
Well,
Like,
and something that
just
came up when we were
be
talking.
boring and cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we don't, again, their culture is not necessarily rewarding saving. Like, what are you going to put? It's
Yeah.
like adorable. Oh, you're going to get 10 cents on your savings that you have. Like, that's absurd. And so there's no real incentive to like put money in savings. So it's like, F it, I'll go buy a boat, I guess, or
Yeah,
something. I don't
yeah.
know.
Tomato
Well,
plants, right?
and-
I mean, there's other ways to save, right?
Yeah.
Like there's,
Of course.
you know, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, and the pandemic didn't help because there was a sense like the world was ending, so that made my drinking like way worse. I was like, all right, well, if the world's ending, then I'm just going to like party every day. Like there was I think like 2021 to 2023, it was crazy. Like it was not good.
Well, we've got I have to let the
So.
amazing two-way staff set them free as well.
Okay.
And be respectful of their time and night. And
Thank you,
I've got to let
Max.
Jim go as well. Max, always a pleasure. Thank you for being here. Okay, yeah, sweet.
Thank you, Jim, very much.
Jim, thank you so much.
oh, I love this. This was so much fun. And
Everyone
you
who
know,
does this with me is like, I could do this all night. I'm like, I know, it's so fun, isn't it?
very much so. It was
Amazing.
lovely meeting you all, and thank you so much for listening to me ramble. But very much appreciated.
Great. Thank you
Keep
so
the faith,
much.
guys. Keep the faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. All right. Thank you to everyone who spoke and talked and, gave us their perspective. We love that.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. I'll wrap it out. Thank you to our guest, Jimber. Thank you to those of you who showed up and asked questions and raised your hand and were so honest. We can't do this without you. Thank you to Two Way and their amazing team. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Bridget.
And thank you to Quest for sponsoring this show. Visit questhealth.com and use the discount code REALMAY25 and get 20% off your purchase. That's questhealth.com. Code REALMAY25 for 20% off. Thanks for getting real with me, guys. I'm Bridget Phetasy. Don't forget to tip your server. See you later.